Someone said they found you dead at your house. And how could this be true? I still needed you. I can't believe that I'll never see you. It must have been so bad I can't begin to even try to explain what you've been through. There's no way out, only a way through. You should have stayed here, I could have saved you. Well, I've been up all night trying to figure this out. I wrote a million different words to let you know how I felt. Nothing really sounds special enough, and they don't have the words to tell how it was. When you should have stayed here, I could have saved you. There's no mistake that we couldn't work through. Nobody hates you, then once you saved, dude, you left me all on my own. I can't replace you. There's no way out, only a way through. You should have stayed here, I could have saved you. I've been up all night trying to figure this out. I wrote a million different words to let you know how I felt.
Hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Mike Files. We got a special guest in house today, Mr. Brook Schuster, one of my best fucking friends on the planet. Solid ass dude. Like, I mean, this guy, he's one of the few people that I know for a fact I can call him at any fucking point in time, and that dude will help me out. Welcome, Brook, man. It's good to see you, brother.
Thank you.
Welcome to the studio. Today we're just gonna have a little, I guess, a little shit show here, remembering Sticky Ricky. Rick was Brook's stepfather, and we all have worked together over the years. Jesus Christ, long time,
Yeah.
very long time, and
Probably what? 19. Well, no, not
it's
quite that.
been a good 15 years at least. Anyway, I met these cats when we were working for MCOs.
Right.
Slinging paint and shit. You know, Brook and I have done a lot of work over the years together. He's helped me out. You know, I haven't helped him out with his plumbing, but you know, anyway, we got Brook in. We're going to talk about Ricky a little bit because this guy, he was a cat that broke the mold. Like, you know, I mean, like, it's hard to even explain Rick to anybody, you know? I mean,
You caught on pretty fast, though.
yeah. Well,
Are you going to walk around with those mittens on all day?
I'll tell you the first time I met Rick, I just started working with this paint company, and we were down in Thermopolis, which, to all you out there that don't know where that is, it's like 85 miles away from Cody, and we didn't get to work that day, and so I was dropped off. I was at the Park County Library here in Cody to go work on that job, and I walked in, and Brook was spraying with crocodile jib. We all had names for each other. Good old crocodile jib. Oh man. And anyway, I go in there with the boss. I get introduced to Rick, and he's wearing these brown like gardener's gloves, right? Brook, you can scoot this way a little bit.
Okay.
Get you more in the camera. Anyway, and you can swing that. There you go. So anyhow, I go in, and of course I'm the new guy, and I've been doing commercial paint for a long fucking time. Like, I know my way around, but of course I'm the new guy, so I get put on the sander. The block sander. He's like, "Can you sand door jams?" I'm like, "Okay." I go, "What do you do? Walk around with those mittens all day?" He's like, "Fuck you." Oh man. But we had some times, man. And Rick unfortunately passed away.
I was working with P. Pants Bill, sanding all that stained up boards, and
Yeah. Oh, I remember that dude was on that scaffold at the end of the building, and Rick was just screaming at him.
Yeah.
"What the fuck are you?"
Yeah.
And then the first time I went on the road, I had to stay in a room with P Pants, and I remember I was just like, "Fuck this shit." And I remember I went to Applebee's because we had to stay in the Super 8 up by the event center, and it was me, P Pants, Bruce, and Crocodile Jib.
Right. Yeah.
And Crocodile Jib and Bruce were in their room, and I was in there with P Pants. And I went to Applebee's, and I ate dinner, and I had a number of beers, and I was like, "Fuck, I gotta go back and stay in a room with this old bastard."
Right.
I didn't know him. And I walk in and I saw he had his painter's white. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, we wear painter whites.
Oh, you used to.
We used to. I don't wear them anymore. Fuck that. But I go in the room and I get back from Applebee's and I walk in the fucking lobby and the goddamn police with a drug dog are in the fucking lobby, standing there waiting for the elevator, you know? And I walk in and I'm like, I got a bag of weed on me. I'm like,
It's a bad moment, huh?
I'm like, oh fuck. So I stop at the little rack of brochures.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm acting like I'm looking at like river rafting in Casper or whatever.
Not from around here.
And so the cops, they kind of look at me and they, you know, the elevator door dings. They get on. I wait for them to go, and then I go and I hit the button. So I go up to the second floor, and I get off the elevator, and they're at Bruce's door, right next to our room. And here I am. And so I get off, and I'm trying to find my key. They're banging on the door. They're looking at me.
Right.
I go in with pee pants, and he's sitting there in his underwear, his pee-stained tighty whities. He's got those painter whites sitting in the corner, and they're almost standing like they're.
Right.
I mean, they're not all the way standing up, but there's so much paint and bullshit on them that they're damn near. I mean, they're not. They didn't just fall to the floor like when you take your pants off, right?
Yeah, like when you fall in the lake and you freeze.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. And he's wearing these pea-stained tighty whities, and he's drinking fucking brandy and 7-Up or some shit. I was just like, dude, what? Come on, man. I'm like, you know, put some pants on.
Right.
And so I sit there and wait, and the cops leave, and of course, you know, those two idiots had been smoking weed in their room or whatever, and somebody called them in, and I think Spruce Bruce got a ticket, if I remember right. Then he had to call Geesh.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Anyway, Rick wasn't on that job, but I don't know, man. We got a lot of history. The guy was he was a character. He was a legend. He was one of those cats. Like, he would come on a job. Like, when I got out of prison, I had to go do some work at that Yellowstone building over there in Powell College. And so it was me, Che, and I think it was just me and Che. And then Rick came over that morning when we started. And he walked in and this is the type of guy he was. He walked in the building, right? And I mean, you're talking about tradesmen. It was a job for Sletton Construction. We all knew each other. We've all been working together for years. And Rick comes walking in late, and the whole job erupts. Like, oh, you just hear the, oh man, not you. Oh, fuck. Who the fuck? You know,
right.
I mean, just giving him shit, you know. He's like, fuck you guys, you know.
Yeah. Turn that shit down.
Oh, yeah. And then the superintendent came up to me and he was like, I don't let him paint anything that's going to be visible.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, because he got at that point to where, like, you know, eyesight was failing. You know, he was, you know, I mean, we nearly lost old Ricky. I don't know how many times.
Here's quite a few.
I mean,
once or twice a year there for a minute.
Yeah, you and I met up in Billings a number of times when he was in the hospital up there.
Yeah.
Made trips to Harbor Freight and Costco and shit.
Right, yeah. So many weekends up there in Billings at the spur of the moment. Huh?
God, what a character. I mean, you know, and he was charged with this energy that was just, I mean, you know, I don't know how many fights I nearly got in because of him.
No, Jesus.
And he was a notorious racist. You know, I mean, he came from that ilk of old white dude. You know,
yeah.
You know, born and raised in Michigan. In what, Ann Arbor or Detroit?
Well, I started out in Dixboro, I think, and then everywhere.
Right. But you know, I mean, that's kind of who he was, and you know, is what it is.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Well.
But you know, I remember. Oh God, he almost got us in one. Oh God, he pulled the one in Newcastle.
I wasn't down there.
Yeah, that was the one where the truck got keyed, and
well, I didn't.
I remember one time he locked us in. He locked us in, out of the truck, and we were working in Moorcroft, and Geesh had set us up in this shitty hotel in Gillette.
There.
And Rick and I had been on the road first. You know, I mean, you know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
We've both been doing it forever.
Sucks after a while.
Yeah, I mean, when you go...
It's fun for a week or two.
Right, but when you go out week after week,
yeah.
and you know, say you're working 410s, You're living in a hotel
or more.
and then you get back either late Thursday night or you get back Friday. You got a day to do your laundry, and you don't even have really much of a day to catch up on, like if you got bills to pay, things that have to be done on a weekday. A lot of times you don't even get to do that.
No, you got to take them with you.
Yep. And then Sunday comes along, and then a lot of times you got to leave on Sunday. I mean, and then you're on the road again. So Sunday, now you're in a hotel again, Sunday night, in some clapped out shit dump with somebody that you don't necessarily want to be living with. I think the best one we did on the road was when we were all in Lander.
Yeah.
But then...
Well, yeah, because it was just us three.
Yeah.
He'd stand near the door.
He'd open the door at 3 a.m, stand there with his toothpick, and it'd be 27 below zero with the wind blowing sideways. And he'd open the door and just stand there in his boxer shorts, And you wake up and there's snow blowing in the room. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Dude, looking around. Oh, God, he was notorious for that shit, man. That shit used to drive me fucking nuts. And then, like we'd get on a job, and this dude, Ricky, to get him going on something was a fucking, it took an act of God. What was the first
half a day?
What was the first thing he always looked for?
Well, where the prints were, the job box, or...
What else, though? What was the first thing he would bitch a fit about? There was 2 things that really just would set him off. Number 1 was where's the bathroom?
Oh, well, right.
And then the water.
Oh, yeah, I got any water. That was the first thing.
He would look for... It's like, dude, you haven't even got a brush wet. You haven't even got a brush in paint yet. You ain't got a
razor room yet.
Yeah, he's like, they didn't have a fucking bathroom on this job. I always had... I carried a roll of toilet paper in my truck.
Yeah, well, half the time they had a bathroom. You didn't want to use it anyway.
Right. But I just got used to just keeping a roll in there because, if he was riding with me, we had to have a roll of shit paper because you never knew. I remember one day over, I guess now we can talk about these stories because it's funny, but we were there. I'd given him that rolling cart for his birthday.
Oh,
you remember the little stool?
Oh yeah, the red one.
Yeah.
With the little,
Because he had gout so bad he'd wear one work boot and he'd wear a flip flop on his other foot.
Yeah.
Because he had gout so bad.
He'd walk around like a duck all day.
Yeah, and he was. All I had him doing was cutting in the bottom, like for those who don't know paint, and cutting in is taking a brush and just running the paint along the bottom of the wall above the trim. And that was Rick's job. That's what he was doing, and for him, watching him get up and down, up and down, up. It was just painful, and it was his birthday.
Yeah, right.
It was his birthday, so I knew it was coming up, and so I got on Amazon and I ordered him this little. I think it was a Craftsman.
Yeah, I think it was.
It was a little Craftsman like work stool, right? It had a little tool tray on it, and it was on casters. And so on his birthday, he comes. Yeah, there goes the camera. I hate that fucking thing. It'll come right back. Anyway. He comes in there barking the tires after he just got that engine redone on that Bronco, and so he comes up to the back of the truck. Hey, what's going on? I said, happy birthday, you old bastard, and he's like, oh, hey. And so I reach in the back and I pull out the box, right? Yeah. And I hand it to him, and he looks at it and he looks at me and goes, fuck you. And I said, man, it's not meant to be an insult, Rick. I said, fucking put the thing together and give it a try. I said, man, you can fucking haul ass in front of these guys. Because we were mopping those walls up with 18-inch rollers. And it worked like a champ. He loved that thing. Yeah. And he was just he would haul ass, man. Right down. And people would come in, like the superintendent came in the first time. He's like, what the fuck is this? Right. And I'm like, look, dude, he's got a flip flop and a boot on,
Yeah, right. Yeah. Kind of hard to get around.
Dave showed up and he's like, what the hell is... I said, watch how it goes. And then he was like, damn, it works pretty good. Right. And that thing was like his favorite thing on the planet after that.
Oh, he got the deluxe model after that.
Yeah, but with that one, he that thing, every time we'd go anywhere, he had it. He was almost like proud of it. But at first he was pissed. He thought I was like insulting him or something.
Gave him the excuse to sit down too.
Right. But I remember one day, one day over there, we had, I was like, all right, let's take lunch. And so, we cover up our rollers. He covers up his cut pot and gets up and he's walking in front of me and Miller and Che. And on the back of those whites, he's got a brown spot.
Oh, Jesus.
And Miller's like, I think he shit himself.
Oh, God.
I'm like, he goes, should we tell him? I said, no. And so We didn't say anything to him about it the whole day. He's walking around with the like the size of a quarter shit stain on the back of his fucking painter's whites.
Oops.
You know, and I mean, and he's got the flip flop on one foot, the boot on the other foot, a shit stain, and he's riding around on a fucking rolling seat. You know?
Yeah, I can only.
Just hilarious, and singing "Spider in My Butthole" the whole time. You know?
Oh yeah.
Spider in my buttocks. So Rick used to do that shit. Like we'd go on jobs and he would start singing goofy songs, some of which I can't repeat.
Yeah,
but he would wait and see who would respond to him, and then that person would be like he would just pick on that person like the whole job.
Oh yeah.
It was always like a young electrician. He'd be like, "The fuck you say? What do you say? What'd you say?" You know, and then that was the guy. Like he would just target in, and he was an old man, but you couldn't beat him in a fucking war of words.
No.
There was no way. He would verbally bitch slap the shit out of these dudes, like the whole job. I mean, the first time I worked with him, he called the fucking superintendent a sausage neck.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I had a cup of coffee in my hand. I just about spit it out my nose.
Right.
I was like, you know, and then we went outside. I said, "Did you just call him did you just call Harold a sausage neck?" He's like, "Oh, yeah." There was a guy on the job that had one of those lateral lisps, you know, where he said like steak sandwich, and Rick would pick on him. He called everybody a fucking onion head, bunion head, sausage neck, scrotum neck.
Right.
What else?
Oh,
beagle ass.
Too many to remember right off the top of my head.
He'd come up with new ones along the way too, but you could never beat that guy in a war of words. And it was always funny because it would be the first guy that would sound off. He'd just tee off on him, and that was it. It was like that guy would be on hit the rest of the job.
Gary Goon.
He'd come up with a nickname for him.
That was a good one.
Yeah, Gary. He'd yell at we'd be on jobs, and you know, typically
I think he was playing along because he was doing the exact same thing. Though he was.
That Gary Goon guy.
Yeah, he was.
Oh yeah, I think he was half retarded. That was the guy that asked who's MC Hose.
Right.
Rick's like, "What the fuck is wrong with that guy?"
MC Hose.
I remember one day I just finally asked him. He goes, "What the hell's wrong with you?"
Right.
And the guy's like, "Huh?" He goes, "Where the fuck you from?" You know, and the guy's like, "I'm from Michigan." And then of course, you know, they hit it off.
Right. Yeah.
Then they became. But he's like, "Who's MC Hose?" We had our boss would come on the job, and I mean, he'd be staggering down the hallways, and he'd fall around and he'd leave, and all the other tradesmen would always ask, like, "Who's that guy?"
Yeah.
And Rick and I would always be like, "Oh, that's our boss." Mm-hmm. And he'd be like, "I thought you guys ran the company." It's like, no, that's they're like, "That's your boss."
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, well,
working in Thermopolis, everybody would always they would do that because this guy would. I don't want to make fun of him really, but I do. He would take a knee, like he'd be walking down a hall, you know, and he'd do the classic take a knee and like put his arm against the wall and he'd go, "Ugh." He'd like make this noise, "Ugh." You know,
my back hurts.
Yeah. And so the guys, when he would come on the job, all the other tradesmen they'd see him coming, they'd like take knees and shit and be like, "Ugh."
Yeah.
One day, and he was like, "Are they making fun of me?" And I was like, "I don't think so, man."
Kinda.
That's where I had
to figure out.
On that job. Thank God we were next to the hospital that day. I had to pick him up and do the fireman's carry over the emergency room with him.
All right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They had to put him on that fucking IV for the whole afternoon, and then he gets out, and the first place we stop is at the Maverick, so he can get a fucking big gulp or whatever, and then dumps half of it in the parking lot and fills the rest with vodka and fucking blows through the straw and looks at me and goes, "Wyoming blow and go."
No, Jesus.
I'm like, they just pumped you full of fucking magnesium and potassium because you had no electrolytes and you just spent the afternoon in the hospital. This is what you're going to do? Okay. But yeah, last time I ran into him was with Rick. And we were, what do you call that shit? Lagunitas? That beer that we used to drink, that Lagunitas. He called it Lagunitas because he couldn't say Lagunitas.
Yeah.
What words try to think of some words that he couldn't say. There were certain words he just couldn't say. Like he never called Sherwin-Williams. It was always Sherman. And I'd be like, "Dude, turn that. Like, look at it's Sherwin. Mm-hmm. Where do you get an M?" Or, you know, it's like,
it's easier to say it with the M.
Yeah. Sherman Williams. That's all I say. Oh, Sherman Williams.
What do you call it?
Yeah, what do you call it?
What's his name?
Yeah, well, what's his name? And yeah, what do you call it?
Yeah.
Oh God! And we'd go out. I mean, we'd go out after the jobs, and we'd always just go drive around. And we'd go down to like the Indian reservation, down to Fort Wasky. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
We'd stop and we'd go to the liquor store and grab Ice House tall cans, and then we'd go get you guys the cheap cigarettes out there on the res.
Yeah.
We pull in that gas station, and there were 3 white boys in a truck out there on the res, and he's yelling at the natives out there, man. And I'm like, dude, stop doing that shit, dude. It's like, do you want to go into? It's like you don't want to go into the tribal fucking jail, dude. Like you don't, as a white dude, you don't want to be in the tribal jail, man. That's not a good place to be.
He didn't care. They figured he was an older guy, so they were going to mess with him,
Well, it was like the first night we were in Lander, we would go in the Lander bar, and he walked by that old native guy, and the guy had an eagle feather in his hat. And he said, "Where'd you get the crow feather?" And I was just like, "Oh God, why would you?" And the dude's grandsons took offense to it, but they were so drunk they couldn't stand up. We almost got in a brawl over that one. I think I had to buy the old man a beer.
No. Calm down a little bit.
Tell him sorry. I'm sorry for the old guy over here. He's just a jackass, Then he called those 2 guys Jerry's kids.
Right. Well, they left the door open. It was blowing snow.
Well, it happened so many times that night too. Yeah. That same night, that was when I don't know if you remember, but there was a lady that was driving through that little Hudson.
Yeah.
And she hit a deer, one of those big ass bucks, because they have huge buck deer down there for some reason. And she hit it, and it was like 70 mile an hour winds that night. It was 27 below. You couldn't see anything, and she hit this deer, and she was driving a little car, and it went through the windshield, and it killed her.
Yeah.
The antlers impaled her head.
Right.
So that night we're sitting at the Lander bar, and we're sitting there, and every time somebody would open the door, the wind would just slam it open, and snow would just fucking blow in, and a big gust of cold ass air. And it had happened.
And him sitting where he was sitting at.
Right. And Rick had finally had enough. And these two guys come in, and I mean, these are not tough guys, mind you. The one guy had on fucking glasses. He looked like Schnurdly, and I don't remember. The other guy might have been a little taller. But Rick turns right around. That door slammed open, and it wham, and the fucking snow came in, and Rick turns around and looks and goes, "What are you, fucking Jerry's kids? Shut the fucking door." Right. And they did not like that. They got pissed. They wanted to hear these 2 guys, and they were not. I mean, they were maybe my age. Yeah, I'd say early to mid 30s. And here they are. Both of them are wanting to fight Rick. And Rick looks at him, and he's, "I might be an old man, but I'll slap you in the next week." Yeah. And these guys take their jackets off and come up on him, like they want to fight. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm not even paying attention to these guys. I'm trying to just ignore it. And when they came up on Rick, and he stood up, that's when I think I finished my beer and slammed my pint glass down and got up and walked right in front of Rick, between him and those 2 idiots. And I was like, "All right, we can do this." I was like, "But you 2 motherfuckers," I said, you don't want to do this. You don't want to play this fucking shit with me. I said, "Because you might intimidate, you might sit here and act like you're going to do something to the old man here." I was like, "But I got something for you that you don't want to fucking even get into, I think I might have even bought him a beer.
I think you did.
Yeah, and they sat down and shut the fuck up, but that was so funny. He'd say shit like that.
I think they came in after they stopped serving food, and they were half in the bag as it was anyway. Yeah. Hungry.
And they want to fight an old man. But Rick was always good for that too.
Well, he was good at starting shit.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Everywhere we'd go. I got kicked out of more places with him than I ever did on my own. And he's old, well, I guess he wasn't that old. He was what, 69? 69, dude.
Right. Or he would have,
because he would have been 70 that year. Anyway.
Yep.
What a character. I don't know. You've got stories about him for days, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a couple of good ones.
Yeah,
I remember he had this Volkswagen. It was a convertible Volkswagen, and he always told the story. It was back in Michigan, and they were working on, I think it was I-96, and they were working on the bridge. And he was, probably had way too much to drink that night, and he drove off the bridge. Flattened all of his tires, and his head went through the roof. And he ended up driving it home like that. I don't know how the hell he got it home.
I remember him telling me about that too.
I couldn't imagine.
Wasn't that his dad's vehicle?
What was either his or his dad's? One of them was somebody's. Maybe it was his sister's. Who knows?
I remember him telling me about the cornflakes.
Yeah. And,
you remember that story?
no.
Throwing the cornflakes out the window?
Uh-uh.
I'd never heard of that in my life, but apparently, if you're going a certain speed and you chuck cornflakes out the window of your vehicle and they hit the window of the vehicle behind you, the windshield wipers they stick, I guess. There's something to do with the sugar and shit on them, but they stick and they don't come off.
Huh.
And he was talking about like being in, I think he was like in high school or something. He was talking about going on a camping trip.
Pickles work. I know you used to throw pickles on it.
Well, this was cornflakes. He said that their buddies were behind him and they were, you know, typical. You remember doing that on the weekends, going on your, you know, your high school camping trip or whatever. But he said he chucked that box of cornflakes out the window and it hit the windshield, and they damn near totaled that vehicle. I guess he said they were, you know, swerving all over the place and finally had to stomp on the brakes. He said they were trying to do the windshield wipers on it, and he said for some, and I don't know if it's true or not. I'd like to try it out, but I mean I don't know how you go about that without it being dangerous as fuck
Or wet.
Well, yeah, but he said, I mean, he said it didn't matter what the temperature was. He said it's just a certain speed you hit, and those cornflakes just they just stick, and you can't take them off with the windshield wipers or nothing.
That's
you got
funny.
to basically got to get out with like an ice scraper.
I could see him doing something like that too.
So that was one of the stories I always laughed about. And then what be a pheasant look like? Mm-hmm. That was a good one.
Right.
Yeah, he had.
I remember when I was a kid, he had that plow on that Bronco.
Yeah.
And there was about 4 inches of slush on the road, and he saw this little clapped out. It was a foreign car or something like that, some small midget thing, and he dropped that plow going down the road about 40 miles an hour, and he just covered that car with slush.
Oh God!
That guy slammed on the brake. Good thing there wasn't anybody coming, because I think he might have even checked before that, but. Yeah, he dropped that and just toasted that windshield. The whole car just.
That's the worst.
Slush.
That's the worst, though. I mean, I remember one year coming over Snoqualmie Pass, going from Seattle to Missoula, and I'm in the right lane. It's just dumping fucking snow, dumping. And oh God, you can hear Dewey out there.
No, he's crying again.
And you, I mean, this plow comes up behind me, and I'm on the interstate. I'm on the I-90, and he gets on the left lane and passes us with the plow down. I almost had to come to a complete stop. I'm in my Pathfinder in 4-wheel drive. I mean, it douched me so bad I couldn't even get it off with the windshield wipers.
Dude.
I mean, I was just cut. It was that much snow on the interstate. Too heavy. There's like 6 inches on there.
Yeah.
And I mean, the guy just threw it all. I mean, I almost went off the road. I was so mad. And I couldn't catch up with the guy because the weather was so bad that night. I mean,
well, yeah, because by the time you get out, just scrape your hand over the.
Well, that's what I had to do. I had to get out with the scraper and get it all off there. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I know how that goes, and it's. I can see him doing that though, and just laughing about it. Just being oh God. Yeah, he had a nickname for everybody, and just a real character.
Oh yeah.
You know. Real character, and I mean, I feel bad about everything because, you know, the one thing I had to run him off at the end. Just you know, and I always, it was always in the back of my head that I thought, God damn it, I said, you know, I don't want to not have everything okay with Rick and I and then have him pass away, and then you called me that day and asked me to do you a favor, and of course, me being a smart ass, I told you, fuck no.
Right.
And you said, well, I need you to go to the hospital. And right then, my fucking heart just sank, dude. I mean, I just had this pit in my stomach. You said, I need you to go to the hospital. And I was just like, oh, no. You know, and you're like, yeah, Rick, fucking you go down, you know.
Yeah, because I'm stuck in Basin.
Be with my mom, you know.
So
and
mad.
She was so pissed at me when I went in there. I mean, I walked in and, you know, I had to check in. And then they had to call your mom out. And she came out and she said, what are you doing here? And I said, regardless of anything, I said, you know that we're still family. We're family. And she was like, are we? And she was upset. She was angry. And that was fine. And I was like, look, I understand.
She wasn't there. So,
huh?
You know, well, I mean, She wasn't there on the job watching him, you know.
Right, I know.
So
And she was upset. And I mean, she'd heard, you know, his side of things and whatever. I mean, it was just, I always, that's one thing that it's one of the biggest things I think that I regret. Because he was a good friend of mine. You know? Mm-hmm. I mean, when I was going through my shit, I mean, that dude went to fucking Missoula, Montana to go to federal court with me, you know? Yeah, my family wouldn't do that, but he would get in the truck and go with me. You know, take that drive and sit in there. And I mean, there was numerous times where I had to go up and sit in federal court and they'd ask, "Is this your dad?" You know, and I'd be like, "No."
No.
And I mean, you know, I mean, he was always like, you know, he was always there. Your mom was too. Same with you.
Yeah.
You were the same way. You were one of the few people that, you know, emailed me and shit while I was locked up. Your mom I always got a Christmas card from your mom. I always got a birthday card from your mom.
Well, that's cool.
And she would even send them for like, I mean, Easter things. I mean, she would always send me, you know, and when you're locked up like that, that means a lot.
Right.
I mean, it means the world to you, you know? I mean, when they call your name at mail call and then you see that there's somebody on the outside that actually gives a fuck about you.
Cool, I got something to read.
just the idea that, well, it's just the idea that somebody out there actually gives a fuck about you and is taking the time to think about you. And that's why I've always, you know, had nothing but love for your mom, because she's always been right there. And I feel bad that I haven't. I mean, I always think, oh, God, I need to go out and see her, you know, and I haven't in a while, and I really should, you know.
Well, yeah.
I mean, because she's just always, I mean, that's the type of person she was. And I would talk to Rick on the phone while I was in there too.
Oh, yeah.
I'd call Rick every once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
And that was always a great time. I mean, you know, I didn't have a lot, you know, you only get a certain amount of phone minutes, but I'd call
15 or something.
Well, yeah, you could only talk for 15 minutes, but you only had, I think it was 300 minutes a month.
Oh, okay.
And then once you went over, then your minutes didn't reset until the first of the next month. But it was like every couple, 2-3 months, I'd call Ricky up, you know?
Yeah.
And harass him.
Huh. Yeah, he always told me, he's like, "Hey, you heard the Mike call me today." I was like, "Oh, cool."
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, your mom though. I mean, it was every year, man. She always sent that stuff, you know. I mean, so I really like when she was upset with me when I walked into the hospital when he had passed away. That really made me more sad. That made me more sad than anything, because for her to have that, I mean, and I know she was angry and upset, and this had just happened, and I mean, she was a total, you know, whole, you know, God knows the fucking different emotions and shit. So I mean, obviously, I didn't take it personally, you know.
Well, yeah.
I mean, but you know, that was a.
I knew I wasn't going to be able to get there.
Well, I know, because I wanted to come get you instead. I was like, that's what I kept asking. It's like, why don't I just come over there and pick you up? And that fucking sugar bear said you couldn't leave.
Yeah, also mad.
I mean, that's bullshit, man. And especially with him being a friend, a supposed friend. I mean, he should have been the first one jumping in a vehicle and saying, "Let's fucking go." Right? I mean, that's what made that, you know, I mean, whatever with that guy, but I lost a lot of respect for him with that move, because I mean, personally, had it been you and I on a job and we'd gotten that news, we'd been leaving.
Well, yeah.
We get fired, I don't care. We're going. You know what I mean?
I told him right after I got off the phone.
I mean, we'd be packing up and going. I mean, we wouldn't have been sitting there and working the day out, you know? It'd have been like, we're out, you know, we're going.
Yeah, I understand, you know, the job's important, but it's like,
there's things that are more, and now, but you got an understanding of that now that you've been out on your own.
Well, yeah.
You understand that. I mean, now you understand that there is, you know, there's more important stuff than the 9 to 5. It's funny, I don't know, maybe I think you've come to that point where you've started to understand that the punching a clock thing is not what it's all about.
Well, not really. No, I mean, it would. Yeah, I don't know. It would be nice every now and then, but because it's.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's.
You know what you're getting sometimes.
But you've also had the days where you've gone and put in 4 hours and you pocket a couple grand.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and that is pretty awesome. To me, that's what I like about, you know, doing my own thing and being, you know, away from that. I mean, the worst day of the biggest heart attack day of the week is Monday.
Why? Because your stress level's up so
Because
high.
people got to go back to work.
No, man.
And everybody, I mean, you know, every time how many times at work, working, punching a clock, did you hear hump day on Wednesdays?
It's
All the time, right?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody every Wednesday has to say it. It's hump day. You know?
Right, yeah.
And then Friday comes along, TGIF.
Yeah.
You know, and so that you spend
If we even worked a Friday,
well,
half the time, or Thursdays.
yeah, a lot of
Fridays.
time we did, and we worked the 410s.
Right.
But I mean, if you're working an 8-hour day, and you're working weekdays, Friday, everybody is just waiting for Friday, and
Yeah.
and you spend your days like trying to look busy, but not necessarily being busy doing much of fucking anything.
Well, yeah,
you go through the motions.
Depends on
you
how
do
easy the job is.
You do the bare minimum, right?
Yeah.
And then you got your 10 o'clock break. Got to take 10 o'clock break.
Yeah.
12 to 12:30 is lunch break. You know?
Right.
I mean, and then it's like when it's quitting time, I mean, everybody's cleaning. I mean, it's just so stupid. Mm-hmm. It's so stupid. It's all about this clock, and you spend your life doing that shit. I spent so many years of my life doing it, and I'll never do it again. I will never, ever, ever fucking punch a clock for anybody again in my life.
Well, you never know. I mean,
I do know I won't ever do it. I don't give a shit. I will not. And Rick had that mentality, right? Because that's what he'd spent. I mean, you know what? He was a union plumber.
oh yeah.
So he was all about, and Rick loved the camaraderie of the job too. I think that was a big part of it, because I tried to get him to slow it down. You know, towards the end, I was like, dude, look, you're like, after lunch, dude, you're done. I'm like, you got like 4 hours in you, man.
Right.
I'm like, why don't you start just doing half days?
Yeah.
And I mean, I was paying him well and eating most of it. And I was like, just trying to get him slowed down, but he wanted to be there more than anything.
Well,
I think just because,
do.
right. And I think that
Yeah.
he just loved the camaraderie. He loved giving people shit. Yeah. He liked he really did. He liked the confrontations.
Oh yeah.
And he liked giving people hell, and he liked getting a reaction out of people. Like most of the shit he did was to get a reaction out of people.
Well, that's why he did it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that he got happiness out of that, and it was hilarious. I mean, you know, after getting to know him, it was just fucking hysterical, and it got to be where I knew exactly what was going to happen. We'd go on a new job, and you know, he'd start with the "Spider in My Butthole" song, or the other song.
Right.
The one that I'm not going to say,
Yeah,
but you know, and see who's going to respond, and then he'd find the superintendent and come up with a nickname for them, you know, and they'd be looking at him like, you know, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, right.
You know, and then you and I would go in there and just fucking mop the fucking place up and kick ass, you know, and he'd sit there and walk around with his mittens on and yell at the Mexican guys doing the drywall.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Turning the polka, yeah. I think he even cut a couple chords on radio.
Shit down.
Yeah.
And then we come back the next day.
Turn
and our
that fucking polka shit down.
job box is just
Yeah.
hammered with drywall mud.
Oh yeah, and those guys. I mean,
yeah, thanks a lot, asshole.
well, I always thought that was funny, you know.
Well, I did too, but
I remember one day we're sitting there and we were at Lander, and down there on the main floor where we had our job box and our little, you know, we had our little shop area.
all right.
And those Mexican cats were on those stilts, and they had them extended way the fuck up,
yeah.
right? Like they were way up, and there was all those stands of pipe that were sitting there. And the one dude like staggered back and fucking tripped on those stilts and fell right on the. Oh God, I mean, he was writhing in pain.
Oh yeah, I would imagine.
And all his boys are on their stilts, and
Especially if you're not ready
they're
for it.
fucking pointing and laughing at him. I mean, these guys are laughing so hard, and the dude's like in obvious. I mean, he probably fucked himself up pretty bad.
Well, it's good. He probably broke his arm. or he
And Rick
could
was
have.
over there just dying laughing, and I was like, dude, that guy just got fucked up, man.
Oh yeah.
But those dudes, I remember they'd walk out there in their stilts into the porta potties and they'd go in the porta potty with their stilts on and just drop trow and spray shit all over the fucking thing and just walk out.
Yeah.
Disgusting. I don't miss that.
Or eat their lunch and talk to their old lady on the phone.
Oh God.
Like how
The worst was in Seattle working out there. It was always, every trade was like by race. And in Seattle it was always Korean guys doing the siding. And those dudes would go in those porta potties. And you could tell because it's Seattle, so it's rainy, it's muddy, and they would stand on each side of that bowl and squat and just crap on tap everywhere, and just walk out. And like we were doing these low income housing projects. And we're talking like 1,500 apartment units in these, big, you're talking a ton of buildings. And so these Korean dudes doing the siding, and I'm not trying to be a racist towards Koreans or anything like that, but this is what they do. I'm just saying, and this is who they work. I never saw any other race of people do this, so don't fucking come at me about being racist because I'm just telling a fucking story. These dudes would go in, and they'd have all the fixtures in these apartment units, right?
Yeah.
So you'd have, you'd have 10, 15 huge buildings on these sites, and they would go and find one, and they would take their hot plate and all their shit, and they'd go up there and they'd start cooking at lunch, and then you didn't have water running. And they would go and they would shit in the toilets with no water. And so then we would get our punch list as the painters. And so you're looking at your list and you're looking at the building and the unit number, and you'd open the door and just go, ugh. And you'd look at the fucking punch list and know if there was something in the bathroom, what you were going to go into. And you go, and these guys would just go in there one after another and just lay it in there, pile it on, and just walk out. So you'd have that air of the Korean food and then the shit that had been sitting there in that toilet for God knows how long.
Was at least hooked up. They could flush it out with a 5-gallon bucket of water.
I don't even know if the plumbers had just put the fixtures in. I don't even know if they were hooked up to the sewer or what. They didn't have any water or nothing like that. They just had put the fixtures in. And, oh, God, that was the worst, man.
Crazy.
You'd go through to do a punch on a building and just go, okay, which unit are we going into? It's going to be, crap on tap.
Yeah, well.
You go in and just.
I think there'd be one that wouldn't have gotten done. Sorry, but no.
Yeah.
Not until you.
Well, I never would go in and do any touch up in those bathrooms. I'd just shut that door and open the front door, and I'd go to the next unit, and let the thing air out and then go in. But I never did any of the touch up in those bathrooms. I am not going to go in and do that. There's things I'll do and there's things I won't do. And that's not one.
I don't even like doing the bathroom when it's got everything in it.
How many times how many times you've gone in a homeowner's bathroom and you had to paint the bathroom and you got to get behind that toilet?
More often than I'd want to.
And what do you have as a paint? Okay, people, listen to this. All right, as painters, okay, if we come in to paint your house and your bathroom, please clean that toilet, please. Because guess what? To paint behind that thing, guess what we have to do?
And it's not just the seat part, it's the whole.
We have to straddle that thing and reach around that
damn
motherfucker.
thing, Yeah.
I had one I did for this gal in Gillette, right? And she actually ran a cleaning business. And she had this place that was a rental that was, she had rented it out to these oil field hands. And I go in there to paint the thing for her, and we'd kind of hit it off online, whatever. I was, kind of interested, staying at her house, and, And so I'm in there, I'm painting the whole house by myself. I'd driven that old S10 over there.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't even go over the Bighorns because it's wintertime. I had to go up through Hardin and shit,
Oh, nice.
And so I go down in the basement to start painting down there, and I go in that bathroom, man, and there's like dead flies, pubes, shit, piss the floor is disgusting. She owns a cleaning business.
Huh. Wow.
She knew I was coming there, so I called her up on the phone. I was like, you need to send either the people that rented this place or some of your fucking people over here, and this fucking bathroom needs cleaned. I'm like, I am not about to, because, you have to get around that thing and paint behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at a big-ass fly. I took pictures of it and sent them to her, and she got so fucking pissed at me. She's like, what the fuck? I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? I said, I'm over here doing, and I painted that whole fucking house for her. It was like a 4-bedroom fucking house. I painted the whole motherfucker for like $1,000 because I just got out of prison.
Right.
It was like one of those situations where I needed to work. And today I would charge $5-6 grand for that house. I did it for $1,000, and then I got to go down there and stick my head in dead fly and fucking poop overspray and pubic hairs and shit. It's like, it's like going to paint somebody's house when you show up and they got dog shit all over the yard. Mm. You know what I mean?
That's always nice too, huh?
Rick used to go nuts over that.
Big old landmines everywhere.
Oh, there's nothing worse than you're carrying a big ass ladder or whatever, and you're trying to walk around the side of the house or whatever, and you step right in a fucking big old pile of dog shit. Mm. God, talk about disrespectful. Mm. But people do that to us all the time. I've had to go into places and just, I mean, get out the shop vac and I mean, clog the fucking thing up with pet hair and shit around the baseboards. I remember I did one for a lady one time, and it was so bad, I'd finally had it, and I just ran the brush right over and just matted that fucking pet hair right into the baseboards.
No.
And she was pissed at me at the end of the thing. How come you? I said, because you fucking didn't clean up your goddamn house. I said, Jesus Christ, I did the whole top floor of your house and I had to fucking vacuum all that shit up. I said, I was out there cleaning up that shop vac. I was like, that wasn't part of the bid. I mean, it's like general courtesy is clean the fucking shit up.
Yeah. Well,
So I just finished it up, just matting it in there.
sometimes people don't get that.
And she was mad and everything else. I said, I don't care. Whatever, you know. You know, it's like, you know, I didn't have that figured into the bid. I mean, you just get disrespected, but that's why I don't like doing that shit anymore too.
It's always like,
You just get disrespected constantly, you know.
oh, yeah.
Nobody gives a shit about your work. They don't care. They just, you know, beat it all up.
Well, some people do.
Not many.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I remember doing that ranch out there in the TT.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I'm spraying walls out, and immediately following behind me is the fucking, you know, the arrogant fucking plumber. And he's sitting there with a saw fucking cutting in, you know, the holes in the ground for the, you know.
Right.
And blowing sawdust right on a wet wall.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there with my spray gun looking at him. I'm like, you arrogant. I said, you fucking arrogant fucking plumber. You know, and then that really pissed him off. And then his boss showed up out there and said something to me. And I said, fuck you, man, you know. I was like, you're going to send your guys in here and fucking do that shit? And it was the homeowner. I mean, you know, it's one of those, you know, they were like the generals. So they didn't know how to coordinate anything. They didn't understand that, hey, the painters are going to be in spraying today. Maybe we shouldn't have the plumbers in here.
Right.
I mean, you know, I'm glad I don't do that anymore. Never again.
That's why I'm glad I don't do a lot of commercial stuff. I'll still do it if I have to, but
Yeah, I mean, I'll paint for people here and
it's the
there.
same thing.
Yeah.
You paint door jams or whatever, and people are just blasting into them with ladders, and boom, and then you got a big old gouge mark in it, and then
Yeah, and then you got to go try and figure it out.
like
And then it never finishes up right, especially if you spray the jams.
you're like Dewey.
Yeah.
You're chasing your tail.
Right, yeah. Or
How
running
many
around
times you
circle.
paint the door? 5 times?
Well, I remember down there at the VA, I lost out on that interior of that thing by, you know, a few bucks, whatever. And dude that did the jams used Promar 200. And then they called me. They're like, can you come fix these? And I'm like, what was put on them? And they told me, and I'm like, no. I'm like, that's wall paint. I'm not going to, I can't. No. No.
Right.
You know, because they beat them all up. I mean, I don't know. I've seen guys that have used, like, you know, they make like a plastic deal that'll go over a door jam or whatever. But then that thing's still going to scratch it up because it takes 30 days for the paint to cure. Anyway, I don't know why we're talking about paint.
When you started it.
I know. Well, I guess it's going to come down to it because we're talking about Ricky anyhow.
Right. Yeah.
Doing those, yeah, God, I don't know how many door jams I painted with that fucking guy. I remember he laughed at me so hard when we were over there in Moorcroft doing that fucking job, and I got gout. That's when I first got gout. And he thought it was fucking hilarious.
Oh, when you're over there hobbling around because your feet
Yeah,
are
dude,
so
I can
small.
barely even walk. He's laughing at me and shit, and I'm like, you mother... I mean, you know, if you haven't had gout, you don't understand. That shit
And
is...
I haven't had it, but I have.
Dude, it is painful as hell. I mean, there is not much I can think of that hurts worse, and it just hurts constantly. I mean, the only time that you get any reprieve from it is maybe if you can get your foot up and have your shoe and your sock off. But I mean, even sleeping in your bed, I mean, you put a sheet over your foot, and it just... I mean... The first time I came down with that, I remember I got out of bed and I fell down, and I thought, you know, I'm sitting there groggy. I'm like, did I get in a fight and kick somebody in the head last night? You know, and I mean, it felt like a horse had stomped on my foot. And then I went and got the blood work done. But he would laugh at me about it all the time, you know. And I remember when he got it, it wasn't so funny anymore.
No.
All of a sudden, he was like, Jesus Christ.
Right.
Oh, God. He finally understood. Yeah, what a character, man. He's definitely missed, man. I missed the guy, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's there, you know, everybody says, oh, they broke the mold.
Yeah, well.
With him.
You ain't putting that one back together.
There ain't never going to be another one of him. No. Not ever. There's no fucking way, man. I mean, that dude was, you want to talk about one of a kind. I mean, Jesus Christ. I remember and then when you'd get him on the job and he'd pull up and he'd always have his nice white sweatshirt and his nice white shirt. And so he'd have to change.
No, yeah.
And so he'd put the tailgate down on that Bronco and he'd peel that fucking shirt off, man. He'd be standing back there with that fucking glowing white pasty fucking belly sticking out. And,
right.
Sitting there with,
Yeah, taking his teeth out and playing
Dude,
smack.
One of the first jobs I got when I got out was it was Lovell Dentistry on Main Street in Lovell, right next to that whatever that chocolate. It's like a chocolate bee, like kind of a little boutique store. And so we're set up right there on Main Street, and I'd kind of set some cones out with some caution tape because we're doing the face of that. And it's pretty tall. We're doing it off the ladders, and we take a break in the morning, and so I'm in my truck on the phone, and I look over, and he's walking into that chocolatier shop, whatever it is, some honeybees or some shit.
Maybe it was the honeybees.
Right, yeah. And so he comes back out, and I'm on the phone, and I look, and he's just standing there, and he pulls his teeth out, and he's holding them in one hand, and he's eating this fucking chocolate thing that he'd gotten in there. And I look in my rearview mirror,
God.
and a pretty good looking lady had pulled up right behind my truck on Main Street there. And so I'm looking in the rearview mirror. I see her. I'm like, oh God.
Here we go. Huh?
So she gets out of the car, walks by my truck, and is going up and going into that place. And there's Rick standing right there eating this shit, and he's all smacking his teeth. He's got his teeth in one hand and the chocolate honey thing in the other. And she walks by and he goes, hi.
Oh, Jesus.
And she fucking, she almost jumped and fucking ran into that place. And I remember I jumped out of the truck. I hung up the phone. And I'm like, get in the truck, and he goes over and he throws his teeth up on the dashboard. And he's like, what?
Oh, jeez.
I said, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. I was like, dude, you just scared the shit out of that lady, And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, look at you.
Yeah.
Put your fucking teeth in. And he'd always throw them up on the top of the dashboard and just put them right back in. It didn't matter how dusty or dirty my dashboard was.
I didn't care.
We'd go sit there at that fucking grocery store and eat sandwiches at lunch in Powell and just laugh at people, just make fun of people. Yeah, Blair's. Make fun of people. We'd always go in and get that monster sandwich, the round one that had like that much, 17 layers of meat on it or whatever. We'd always go get one of those and sit out there, and we'd just sit there and just pick on people. You're like, look at the gooter on that lady's head, and there's some lady hobbling along with a big old goiter hanging off her neck or whatever, and he's over there making fun of her, and then he gets done eating his sandwich, and he just grabs them teeth right off the dusty dashboard and just pop them right in, Or you'd go out to a nice place to eat and he'd throw them on the table.
Oh, shit. Oh, God.
I don't know how many times that happened. There were times that we'd go in a place and be like, dude, do not put your teeth out on the, It's like, he'd just clunk, and then he'd do that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. What a character, man. Walking around with his pants hanging half off his ass. Always.
Right.
Oh God, what? Nothing but fond memories, but just hilarious. And just the reaction he'd get walking into a job where people knew him. Everybody, every tradesman just yelling at him, oh shit, not you, son of a bitch,
Right. Yeah. There were very few dull moments when he was around.
Oh my God, yeah.
Whether it was good, bad, or
ugly or funny, or looking back on it,
it was fun, but
it was all pretty funny. There were times though where I was just like, there were times where I was so mad at him. He'd piss me off so bad sometimes.
yeah,
it was unfortunate the way that, but you know what? The good thing was, I guess at least he just walked in the door and he was out.
Yeah,
went and threw his wood out in the yard.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't one of those, because I don't know how many times that you and I thought, going up to the emergency room in Billings that was going to be it.
Wow. Yeah. Kind of sucks for my mom, though, because that was kind of a bullshit ordeal, I think. But whatever.
Well, the crazy thing about that was, too, is that she had taken the afternoon off to go to the doctor's appointment, and it was the best appointment that he had.
Right.
Like like all his tests and all his everything came back.
First time everything came back normal.
Yeah, he
like
was. The doc said he was
8 years.
Yeah, said he was better than he ever had been, and then blood clot.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's gonna go. None of us get out of it.
Right.
But I don't know, man. That's just part of it, I guess. Yeah. Life is death. That's what I was telling you. My new slogan's going to be dying my best death.
Right.
Instead of living my best life.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it. I mean, every second we're breathing, every second we're talking, we're dying.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is you don't have a...
Yeah, you don't have
it's your time to go. It's your time to go.
Right, and you don't get there ain't no notice. Yeah. There's no notice. It's like,
well, the only notice you're going to get is maybe a head-on collision,
or that you got cancer,
something stupid,
or that you got cancer.
Well, yeah.
And then you look. What do you got to look forward to there?
Yeah.
Chemo and going out in a painful ass way in the hospital. But I'd rather have a head-on collision than go out like that. I mean,
right. I guess there's other options.
I mean, I know you went through that with your father, and I've gone through that with people where you go in, and you got to go visit them, and they're just, by the time they go out, they're just, they're, I mean, it's obviously not. I don't want to go out like that.
I don't think anybody does.
I mean, I'd rather take a bullet to the head than that. I mean, at least it's done.
Well, that was another kick in the ass too for me. Is that.
Yeah.
I lost my dad December 2nd, and then
a
week or a year, and a week later he goes down, and it's like,
yeah. No, I felt bad because you called me and asked me to do you a favor, and of course my reaction was being a smart ass like we always are with each other. I'm like, fuck you, I ain't doing you no favor.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
well, no, it wasn't that. I just you called and asked me to do you a favor, and I figured it was
5 minutes away.
I figured it was going to be something like borrowing a tool or getting a hand with something, And so I was like, fuck you, I ain't doing, fuck you. And then when you told me, I was just like, oh, fuck.
Oops.
That was the shittiest thing it was,
nah.
That was one that just, I don't know, man. But I don't know. A lot of good memories with that old bastard, old Sticky Ricky.
Mm.
I could never figure out why every time I'd get a monthly bill from Sherwin, there was always all those razor knives on there until we cleaned out the fucking
Well, Dave said the same thing.
I mean, every time
in there charging.
Yeah, it was always one of those knives.
Those snap offs and 5 ways and.
Yeah, I don't remember how many we counted in that bag. And then the bag, the grip that he had, that Columbia bag. That was the first grip that I got when I started painting way back in the day.
Oh.
And I'd given it to him.
You like them paint suits, too.
Oh, God, yeah.
Or the head socks or whatever.
Oh, and tape, masking, rags. Oh, God. He would.
Yellow tape, blue tape, green tape.
You'd give him a fucking box. You'd give him a box of rags. You never see those things again. That was the other thing you'd always have. The first thing, water, bathroom, rags. I don't know how. And then he'd take your drops. I remember there was one drop that he brought onto a job one time, and it had WSP
all right.
in Sharpie on the corner.
I got that one.
Yeah, do you have that one? Yeah. I've got one like this exactly, and it was crossed out. He just crossed it out, and then it said RS on it.
Yeah.
And so he brought it on a job. I didn't even ask him to bring it. He brought it on a job. He had it spread out somewhere in a big room we were doing or whatever. And when we were cleaning up, it got folded up and thrown in my bin. And he constantly, you got my drop?
No.
And when I finally found it, because I've got so many fucking drop cloths. Dude, I've got, those Rubbermaid, full of drop cloths.
Right.
So I found it, and it was WSP / and then RS.
It was probably clean. It was probably clean too, huh?
Oh, it was clean as a whistle.
Yeah, brand new.
Took it from Pat Kelly. Yeah, and so he kept bitching about it. Where's my drop? And I said, your drop? I said, why? Because you stole it on us.
You're right.
When we went through that shop at your mom's, I don't know how much shit we'd open up and I'd be like, that's mine.
Yeah, well,
Sticky Ricky.
Well, use Mike's shit before you use Ricky's own shit.
Oh, yeah. He'd take everything, man. He'd take it all. How many years did those fives of that Promar 440 Western eggshell from the library.
No.
There's probably still some of those sitting out
No,
there.
we got rid of them all.
I remember giving them away to people,
Shit,
and he
they've been
he was
frozen,
like, I had, one of my friends, she was repainting her house, and she called me to ask if I had any paint, and I was sitting out there with him. We're drinking beer, and I looked over in the corner. I said, "You want to get rid of some of that?" Whoa, oh, what do you mean?
Right.
I'm like, a friend of mine just moved into a new place, and she wants to do some, repainting, and she really doesn't care about colors or anything. She just needs some paint. And I mean, he was like wanting to get money out of it and shit,
Oh, yeah.
It had been sitting there for years.
I know.
I don't even know if it was any good.
That was the other
it.
thing is the goofy ass colors that were on that job.
Oh, yeah.
It was like,
no, I remember loading up some of the lime green and like one of those purplish,
That's-
like a nasty
yeah.
purple color and shit, and throwing it in the truck and hauling it off. And I mean, all those buckets of thinner and
I think he had a lot of that for like 7 to 10 years. And I'm like, dude, just get rid of it. It ain't no good no more.
Even when Geesh went down, and I mean, he had all that stuff. I mean, Geesh would call me, "If you go out there, get my this, that, and that, maybe."
Right.
We'd be working off, he'd bring ladders on the job, and they'd all say MC hose on the side of them.
Well, yeah.
I mean, just all the containers full of brushes and roller sleeves, and I mean, those were all something that somebody else bought. He didn't buy all that. You know that for a fact.
Well, I mean, it was, I mean,
it was stuff from jobs that,
exactly. He got it for the job and he never used it. And then,
you just keep it.
well, that's mine.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, just like,
no, it isn't.
well, I remember when I first came back and he was working for me at the time, and he kept showing up in an Excel truck. And I finally told him, I was like, dude, don't be pulling up to my job in that fucking Excel truck anymore, dude. This is my job. I don't want it being advertised like, And Dave was trying to get that truck back from him. And he would drive it. And finally I told him, I said, do not drive that fucking truck down here again. And then they came and got it. And he was all in his feelings about that. But he was also storing he had pallets of their paint out there in his shop too. That I don't think he ever got reimbursed for. Maybe he did. Who knows? I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure he got something.
Well, he drove that truck around forever.
Well, yeah.
That was one that he had put those fucking tracking units on or whatever, and those dudes would be sleeping under the trees at City Park. I remember a couple times driving by and seeing that, and I'd call Dave up and I'd be like, "Hey, it'd be like fucking 3 PM, and some dudes would be out there sleeping under a tree in City Park, and they're supposed to be working at the cancer center." I'd call Dave up and be like, "Hey, not trying to rat your guys out or nothing, but I mean, as a friend,
right?
It's like
hour and a half.
Your guys are fucking sleeping under trees over there in the fucking. I mean, and that's what that. What was his name? The guy that passed away that was the super for Sletton. They're not Sletton for Groathouse.
Whoa.
Dan. Yeah, rest in peace, Dan. Dan was a good guy. Dan. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Scotcha.
Yeah, something like that.
He was a good dude. He was So rest in peace to him. But
he was one of the better ones.
He was, and I don't know why am I bringing him up. Oh God, we're talking about Excel, and then he was talking about he was telling me about the job down there in Shoshone, and he said those cats would those Mexican cats would show up down there at like 10 in the morning
doing the same thing.
And he said they would go back in like this room and they had like folding chairs and they would just sleep, and he said they would leave at like 2:30. And then if they did do anything, he said they'd just take their brushes or their rollers and they'd go in the mechanical room and they'd just pitch the shit back behind all the, the fucking water heaters and shit.
Nice.
And so he said when they finished up the job and they were trying to punch it out, he said one of his guys went back there and there was just piles of just crusted dead brushes and rollers and screens, and they wouldn't clean it.
They just throw them in the damn dumpster.
Well, we're talking Purdy brushes and rollers and roller frames and screens. And I mean, they were just, I mean, you're talking, I mean, dude, those things are expensive. A roller frame, what, $15? A brush is a Purdy brush is going to cost you fucking over $20 now.
Yeah, they're pretty.
Unless you get them on sale or you buy the blems off eBay. But I mean, you're talking probably thousands of dollars of shit.
Yeah.
And I mean, and he would always tell me, anyway, I know that, Rick did work for him over the years too. And that's always, I don't know. What a deal, man. I don't know. I miss the old fucker.
Oh yeah.
You know, I just I wish it would have, you know, at least we'd have cleared things up between each other. But that's something I can't ever change.
Yeah.
So I guess if there's a lesson to be learned in it from my standpoint on it, I guess it's like, you know what? There's never nothing with somebody that you can't fucking clear. You know,
Right.
don't have the ego that you're just not gonna talk to somebody and clear it up. And he and I were we were both stubborn jackasses. You know, he was a stubborn fuck. I was a stubborn fuck.
Yeah.
I wasn't about to go over there and just clear the air with him, and he wasn't about to do so with me.
Yeah.
So I guess we're both kind of at fault. Now it's done and over, and you know. But I always look back on that with regret. And I'd thought about it numerous times after that. I thought, you know, I don't want him to go out without having made everything like okay.
Right.
But it never happened.
No.
But what do you do?
No.
Can't do nothing about it now.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's like see you on the flip side or not. Who knows?
Yeah.
None of us really know. I guess nobody knows what's out there on the other side of things. You know, I guess that's the fun of life, right?
Well, yeah.
Is death. It's kind of a morose way to look at it, but really, that's why I say I'm dying my best death.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole living my best life thing is like, really?
Yeah.
No, you're not. Every breath.
How do you know?
Every breath you take, every keystroke you make on that keyboard.
It could get better. It could get worse. How do you?
Well, the thing is, though, it doesn't matter. Every breath that you know, every time you take a breath in and exhale, you're 1 second closer to being out of here.
Well, yeah.
I mean, what are you going for here? I mean, I don't mean to be a nihilist, but it's like, what are you, I mean, what's there, you know, these people that want to accumulate all this wealth and shit, what are you going for? I mean, you're not going to take it with you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You know, Bill Gates ain't taking it with you. Elon Musk ain't going with you.
Nope. We'll go with their family, though.
Well, yeah,
Maybe.
but then, okay,
that's
great.
what
So
they
you
choose
pass
to
it
do
down
with
to
it.
your family, and so then you, Warren Buffett, and this is props to Warren Buffett, he's not giving this shit to his kids. His shit's going to charity because he wants his kids to fucking, you know, make their own way.
Right.
I mean, if you go out and say you're one of the fortunate people that does happen to make, you know, $1 billion fucking dollars or whatever, and then you pass it down to your kids and just give it to them, you're gonna have shitty kids.
Well, a lot of people do that. And
You're
that's
gonna
why you
have
got a bunch
you're gonna have shitty kids.
of low lives running around.
Yeah, shitty kids that don't give a fuck about
disrespectful
anybody.
and-
Yeah, they don't care about anybody else. They just are materialistic. I mean, that's why you see so. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I used to see homeless people all the time when I lived in the city that were, you know, guys sitting there playing a guitar for change, happy as hell.
Yeah.
Guy walking by him in a fucking $5,000 fucking Armani suit with a briefcase, probably just parked a Porsche up in the parking garage that he pays fucking $500 a month for a spot for, and
Yeah.
you know, paying alimony and child support and whatever I mean, everything with that dude is money, and he's unhappy. This guy in the suit is unhappy, whereas the guy with nothing that's got a guitar case sitting there with change in it and sitting there just playing is, I mean, the most personable person that you talk. I mean, you stop and talk to that guy. I mean, they got a story to tell. They're, you know, guy's doing just fine.
Yeah.
You talk to that fucking guy in the Armani suit, if you can even get him to stop and talk to you,
Yeah, right.
guarantee he's unhappy.
Probably blow
He's
you
either
out, maybe.
having an affair, his wife's having an affair. He's unhappy at home. He probably lives in a fucking $1 million home somewhere.
You got
you
too
know?
many bills or something.
Well, it's just, but the thing is with people like that is everything that they don't trust their relationships with people. They don't have friendships because the way they look at it is that everybody who is associated or wanting to be friends with them is trying to be friends with them because they want to get a piece of that money.
Yeah.
So everything in their life it boils down to that fucking money. It's not about, they don't have honest relationships and friendships like you and I have.
Right.
Right? Like you and I our friendship isn't, there's nothing about fucking money involved in any of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd give you my last fucking dollar if you needed it, you know, and I know you do the same for me. Those people though that have all that paper, they don't have friendships like that. They don't have relationships with people
Right.
like that. They might have the trophy wife, but all they're worried about is when's she going to file the divorce papers or who she's cheating on, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, so people like that with all that money, they're always watching their back because they're so worried that somebody else is trying to get in there and take that paper from them somehow. Somebody's trying to get an angle on them. That's why those people are so hard to work for too. I mean, you can go and you know as well as I do. I mean, I go out and do a bid at a trailer park, right?
Yeah.
To paint somebody's place. and I'll crunch the number until I can't get any lower on it. You know, a lot of times because it's like you see these people and you go, I don't mean to say these people, but it's like you see somebody, you know, it's like, God, they can't afford this. It's, you know, but I got to make, you know, I got to make some money. I can't do it for free. Right? Or why am I doing it? You know? And so you submit a number and you think there's no way they're going to accept this. And those are the people that call you right back and they say, oh, I've got a 50% down payment for you. You know? I mean, you go, you do the interior of a trailer house and you know, $4,000, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, you show up the first day on the job and they got a check for you for $2,000. But then you go and you do the $3 million home and you submit an invoice and they don't pay you for a fucking month.
Yeah.
And they because they think that you're trying to gouge them. And I've had to have that conversation with the higher end customers I've worked for over the years where it's like, listen, I'm charging you the same amount that I'd charge anybody else. You know? It's like, just because you got money doesn't mean I'm coming in here trying to hit you for it. You know? It's like, I'm not trying to just like, you know, not trying to get over on you. And that's what that's how those people live their lives. Like every single dealing that they have with anybody, they're concerned that somebody's trying to get over on them. And so it's not even about the money necessarily. It's about like the principle of the matter too, you know?
Right.
And I mean, you know, that's got to be a shitty way to live. I don't know. I mean, if I don't really give a fuck about money. I mean, it's obviously a necessary evil.
Yeah.
I've always been able to somehow make ends meet. And
It's hard to pay bills without it, though. You know what I mean?
It is, but I've always figured it out. You can always figure it out one way or another, man. Yeah. You know, and I've learned the less I stress about it, the better it is. Yeah. Because stressing about it don't change. I mean, I can sit there. I mean, you know how many days there were when you know, when you were working on my crew and there'd be payday. And I'm sitting there with fucking payroll due, and I got $10,000 that I got to throw out that day, and I'm fucking looking at my books, and I got $6,000 in the bank. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck. And I'm scrolling through my fucking list, you know, who owes me money. And I mean, I'm sitting there trying to, I've got the paychecks written out. I'm ready to, you know, take them out that day, and I'm like, fuck. Because I know most of you motherfuckers are going to go right straight to the bank. Yeah. You know? I mean... Yeah. You know, and I'm going around town and finding fucking, it's like, you know, hey dude, you know, motherfucker, you owe me $3,500. You owe me $4,000. You know, chasing people down. And then they act like it's like, they act like pissed at you because they haven't paid up. Right. Like construction is the only business. It's the only thing I think that you can get screwed around like that. Like you can't go to Walmart and fill up your cart and walk out that door and tell the tell the cashier, just send me a fucking invoice. I'm net 30. Yeah. You know, send me an invoice. You don't. It don't work like that. No. But if you're a tradesman, if you work in construction, guess what? I mean, and I always tried to operate in good faith. You know,
sometimes it takes 90 damn days.
Right. Yeah. And you're sitting there, and I mean, when you got when you got 8 or 9 guys working for you, and you got to pay for materials and rentals on man lifts and fuel and insurance and shop bills, and then you got some jackass contractor that ain't gonna fucking pay you, man, and you got to chase the guy around town, and then he acts like you're, you know, or you're working for fucking Kanye West, who makes fucking $33,000 a fucking hour. You know, 365, 24, you know, 24/7, and you got to fucking take your invoice that you've been waiting on for 60 fucking days, and you got to drop a third of it just to get something out of him, you know, because the motherfucker won't pay you, you know. Yeah, that was. And he's out there driving around in a tank chasing antelope, you know. And you're sitting out there fucking working nights all night long, fucking fixing shit up for the motherfucker, and then you get run off because you got a fucking prison record. When his wife is out there fighting for prison reform, and I'm just going to say it, I don't give a shit. Yeah, I signed the NDA, and you know what? The thing is that dude, he was so narcissistic that NDA, the non-disclosure agreement, for those you know, the only thing it was about his music. That was it. It didn't have anything to do with anything else. It was just like you couldn't fucking, you know, you couldn't record his shit and put it out there.
Well, it sucks to be him, I guess. I don't know.
I told him that one night. I told him, I said, I don't envy you, dude. And he kind of looked at me like, huh? I was like, dude, look at this shit. I said, you got all these motherfuckers out here that you got to take care of and feed and fly in and out and all this shit. I said, I don't envy you by a damn sight.
Yeah, look at the turnover rate they had out there, too.
Oh, God, people coming and go. And look at it, and it's done now.
In 2 weeks, they get somebody else. In 2 weeks, they get somebody else.
Yeah, he's gone now.
I think not to mention all the contractors he went through.
No, he treated everybody like shit.
I think damn near every one of them out there.
Yeah, I don't know who ended up.
Close to it, anyway.
Yeah, and now there it sits.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's for sale, isn't it? Or hasn't gone up yet?
I think it's for sale. All his trucks were out there in front of fucking the dealership. That was an auction deal there.
Yeah, I wouldn't want one of those beat up.
No, why would you want one of those trucks anyways? I mean, they're fast. What are you going to do with a Raptor? It's not going to do me any good.
Probably beat the shit out of it. I don't know.
I don't know either, man. I mean, it's not going to do me any good.
Like everybody else does.
I mean, for me, I don't give a shit. I don't
sit in the garage and wipe it off, and
yeah, I don't need all that carnival shit. I just want
paint comes off.
I want a truck that's going to tow a trailer and get me through the fucking mud and shit, and like get me where I need to go, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about having a carnival truck. I mean,
right.
Jacked up, having a wrap on it, and rims and tie. I mean, Jesus Christ. I guess I mean, I tried to have that conversation with them out there about that they didn't know whether, and that was the other thing out there. You didn't know whether they were going to knock all that shit down or they were going to keep it. And I sat down one night and I had the conversation. I said, look, here's my point of view. I said, Wyoming boy.
Anybody knew what the hell.
Well, and I told him, I said, look, as a Wyoming boy, as a guy that lives here, I said, if we have a structure, it's in our best interest to keep it up. Do whatever we have to do to keep it standing. Like we don't like knock shit down,
Right.
I'm like, you've got perfectly fine buildings here. Why do you want to just run them over? I mean,
right, yeah.
But
some people don't care. They got
they were also talking about, but they were also talking about taking all the fences down and having a cattle reserve out there. I was like, you know what happens if you take all the fences down? You're gonna have a bunch of fucking inbred fucking 3-headed fucking calves and shit, And even though those fences don't necessarily keep the predators out, they do.
The wild dogs.
Yeah, the wild dogs.
Yeah, those weren't dogs.
Yeah, those aren't dags.
They're not coyotes.
No,
they're not dogs.
Oh, they're everywhere out here. Nobody even understands either. I mean, I've seen them out there where I ride my dirt bike, and that's half mile away.
Well, yeah, but there's nobody there.
Right, but I've seen them out there. I mean, that's just right over the. Literally, we could be there in
mountain lions.
2 minutes. Yeah, there was a mountain lion on the back patio.
Yeah, I know.
2-3 years ago, we get back from Millstone, and Jax is like, "Hey, somebody's yellow lab is out on the back patio. Should I let it in so we can call the owner?"
Boy.
I look and I see that big ass tail on that thing, and I said, "Well, no."
Yeah, that would be a mess, huh?
Can you imagine letting a mountain lion in your house?
No.
I mean, I'm glad he said something and didn't just open the fucking door.
No.
I mean, it is out there. I mean, the thing is, they come into town and they're deranged. They're like either starving or they're sick.
Yeah.
And they don't. I mean, they trap the thing the next morning. But yeah, I mean, that's where we live. That was funny out there listening to them have that conversation with all the local ranchers. They came out for a consultation, and these locals were just like, "Now, what is it you want to do?"
Yeah.
And they're like, no, that is not even.
I quit paying attention after about 10 minutes of that.
That was one of the first nights I was out there. It was just like, oh my God. But
anyway.
Yeah, regardless. But I digress. As always. Anyways, I don't know. I guess I'm trying to think of anything, any other Ricky stories. There's a million of them, and I know we've missed a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah.
We always seem to come up on them. But anyway, rest in peace, Brother Rick. And I think we're going to wrap it up, Brooke. It was great having you on, man.
Yeah, you too.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks.
Glad we could do it.
Oh, yeah. Probably be the first of hopefully more.
Yeah, man. Anytime, man. Anytime you want to come by and, run your neck.
Oh, yeah.
Hell, it's right here. You can do it whenever you want, man. You're always welcome. So, all right, folks. Well, we're going to fucking wrap this shit up. I hope you gained some kind of, entertainment value or whatever out of this. I'll probably come back with something a little later tonight. Maybe have another, guest or whatever, but maybe I will, maybe I won't. Anyway, I don't know. Be good or be good at it. Peace out. Rest in peace, Brother Ricky. Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you.
And yeah, we're out.
I've been up all night trying to figure this out. I drank a half a bottle of whiskey, sat down on my couch. Couldn't believe what they were talking about when someone said they found you dead at your house. And how could this be true? I still needed you. I can't believe that I'll never see you. It must have been so bad I can't begin to even try to explain what you've been through. There's no way out, only a way through. You should have stayed here, I could have saved you. Well, I've been up all night trying to figure this out. I wrote a million different words to let you know how I felt. Nothing really sounds special enough, and they don't have the words to tell how it was when you should have stayed here. I could have saved you. There's no mistake that we couldn't work through. Nobody hates you. Then once you saved you, you left me all on my own. I can't replace you. There's no way out, only a way through. You should have stayed here. I could have saved you. I've been up all night trying to figure this out. I wrote a million different words to let you know how I felt. You should have stayed here. I could have saved you. I'm sorry, brother. I wish I could have done more. I miss you. I will always love you. You will always hold a space in my heart. This song is for you.